afternoon, everyone. What an amazing first session. And we're talking again about data, but how important is data today, right? So the topic today with Nick and Jan is turning data into revenue-driving decisions. What data points are the most important for decision-making in today's dynamic landscape for hotels? You can have all the data in the world, but if it isn't operationalized, relevant, and influencing how you make decisions at your property, then what's the point of having all that data? Your interactions with data should be simple, and more is not necessarily better. In fact, data should always lead to actions. In this session, a curated panel of industry experts will discuss the internal and external data points they believe are the most important for decision-making in today's dynamic landscape for hotels. They will discuss why these metrics are the most vital for optimal revenue generation, how they practically access, use, and validate them, and why creating a daily routine around data is becoming more and more important as competition grows. Given the growing access to data for every hotelier, this session that will be relevant to all types of accommodation businesses are in experience levels here today. Our speakers, Nick Owen on my left from Siteminder, Global Director, Strategic Accounts. Nick leads the global strategic sales at Siteminder, driven by his passion to connect hotels to new guests and vice versa, with over a decade of experience guiding hoteliers in refining their distribution and revenue management strategies. Nick has worn many hats at major industry players such as Expedia and Guestline. And Jan Buche from Leonardo Hotels, Vice President Revenue, UK and Ireland. Jan joined Leonardo 16 years ago, starting as revenue and e-commerce assistant, escalating to head of revenue management and e-commerce, then director, and now vice president revenue management, UK and Ireland. Having made this presentation of our speakers with all this vast experience, let's get on with the topic. So what key metrics should hotels be aware of as they monitor the performance? So what are the internal and external data points that are most important to hoteliers?
Sure.
Jan?
Okay, the usual one, of course, RGI, RGI change, RevPAR, ADR occupancy, all this one. Now, one that we like is all what is index versus benchmarking. So benchmarking index that we can get for specific partners. So if we take any distribution partner, we can get, they can provide us some index to understand how we perform on which day of week versus a specific concept for this specific channel. What we cannot get with some aggregated information like STR or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with that. I'd say the traditional benchmarks of KPIs of ADR, occupancy and RevPAR are still true today. As Jean says, hoteliers still use STR as a really good guide to benchmark themselves against their competitors. But I would say that these kind of KPIs only show one side of the picture, kind of the revenue side. We also need to understand the deeper element of it, the profitability aspect of it. So things like net RevPAR adds a little bit more color to the revenue manager or the hotelier's kind of picture. What's actually the cost of distribution for these channels and OTAs. I'd also say that GoPAR is a really vital one, and I don't want to kind of preach to the converted here, but GoPAR is one that's typically quite difficult to measure, but actually gives a really clear indication of profitability for a hotelier.
Fantastic. So we were saying earlier in the presentation that we've got so much data. I mean, we flood it. So why is quality data so important these days? Why is it that quality has to be the right quality of data?
Yeah, I think, sorry, Jean. I think I think we all in this room understand that hoteliers are challenged by near constant change. That could be kind of guest desires or wants, booking behaviors. It could also be a change in kind of the competitive landscape. For example, in Europe over the next 2 years, we're expected to see over another 100,000 rooms enter the market. So I guess the bottom line is that hoteliers have never had to be as dynamic as they are today. So quality data actually helps eliminate guesswork, gives better visibility for hoteliers, revenue managers to make educated and informed decisions to maximize their revenue.
And Nick, you at Siteminder, what data points Siteminder allows properties to access?
Well, at Siteminder, it's crazy, really. We see 115 million reservations flow through our system per year, which means we're sat on a load of data. But typically, and Jean, you use the system, right? I think when you log onto our platform, you're greeted by a personalized dashboard, a snapshot of real data that shows things like competitor rates or the best performing OTAs or where kind of your guests are coming from. And actually, we're taking that usable data and we're actually now combining it with a recommendation tool. And we're going to be launching over the next 6 to 12 months globally, a new product called Dynamic Revenue Plus, which actually suggests to the hotel an increase in price or an OTA that they should be using. For instance, it'll look at demand in the area and say, look, there's a Taylor Swift concert on at the Olympic Stadium. I think you should up your rates to this. Or indeed, for instance, in Germany, we saw an uptick in Indian travelers over the past year. Now, wouldn't it be great if the system recommended to you that, okay, well, we've seen this uptick in business from this source market. Have you looked at this OTA? And do you want to connect to it immediately? Wow,
amazing. One of the uses why data is so important for our driving decisions. Jan, this, again, going back to quality data, from the hotel perspective, why do you think it's so relevant to have the correct quality data?
Simple, quality data, quality decision. Now, the quality data is a challenge. From the hotel perspective, you can work with different PMS, CRS, whatever system, different partners, and you get data in a different way, and you need to aggregate all this data in order to create a quality data. Think about taking over an hotel that is working with a different codes, segmentation, all this kind of stuff. You need to put it all together, because if you the aggregation of the data, to reach the quality data as a status quality, it's a big challenge, yeah. So, but ultimately, if it's done, quality data can bring quality decision, fast decision, reactivity, and better performance.
And could you share with us an instant, or could you remember a time when data significantly changed the direction of your strategy at Leonardo?
Major change, anything that will happen in the world. You take COVID, you take the war in Ukraine, or you take the war in Israel, or this kind of thing, will impact immediately our properties. If you have a lot of properties so if you have a property with, 40% of Russian that are not allowed to travel anymore, so basically you need to react very fast, and you need to change your strategy in order to fill your rooms in another way. Same with Israel. If you take even something on Monday, there was FTI insolvencies, is a tour operator. Yeah, basically you need to have quality data to be able to react very fast to check. Okay, do I have a risk here? Where do I get some reservation from this partner? In which specific property do I need to chase for money? Do I need to do something? So it's the quality that, so yeah, we need this kind of data to take decision and fast movement.
Thank you. So we've been talking about data for revenue-driving decisions, but in what ways can hoteliers use the data to enhance the experience of their guests? So just shifting it slightly.
Yeah. We do something quite fun in our organization. If we take the reviews as a translation of the guest experience, you take the reviews and you take it with comfort, value for money, Wi-Fi, all this kind of stuff. And then what we are doing is we are making a full journey with this data, meaning we link this guest experience to which person at the front desk did the check-in, which room the guest stayed, all this kind of stuff. And then we can really map. We will know, okay, in this room 105, typically we get a lower review score, or in this room we do see some more challenge with Wi-Fi, or in this room we see some comfort issue. Even if it can be the same room, at some point that means that there is something that we might not see, but the guest reviewer will tell us, okay, there is something. You need to dive, to dig in order to understand what's going on. So we are doing this kind of interesting digging with this kind of information, and then taking action to whatever, replace the bed or whatever.
I mean, you're talking about elevating a personal experience really for that guest, and especially in this current climate where we see kind of demand increasing, choice increases, transparency of services and prices increase. So this kind of personalized service is so important that you tailor this to every guest, not just a segment. Now you actually drill down to whether the Wi-Fi is working in each room and who checked that person in. It's amazing, but it's also so important to distinguish yourself against your competitive set.
Absolutely.
It's very easy to think that there is a correlation between the price you pay and the review you are giving, but actually it's a big shortcut that is not correct. People that are paying more money for the same room might give actually a better rating, and rating today is directly impact your bottom line, because people best ranking, people pay more for that.
So we will use data for making the decision of the prices, but also that data goes to enhance the experience of the customers. That's very interesting, thank you. Now, in your hotels, in your chain, in your company, you've got different teams, different departments, and data is relevant to all of them. But they might not necessarily have the same goals, so each department may have different goals. So how can data help with the alignment and focus across the hotels, your teams? How do we use data to align so we all drive in the same direction?
I think alignment is also a sharing of knowledge. So it's important that, in any business, that you share exactly how the business is operating, keeping it simple with KPIs, a limited set. But I'd say, especially in the hotel world, if you're sharing this knowledge with front of house or with a respective team, say in F&B, then you're ultimately adding to the bottom line, because everyone is aware of their actions and how that contributes to the certain KPI that you measured on. So I'd say it's fundamental, really. Jean, you see it firsthand. But I'd say, really, it's really a sharing of knowledge and actually making sure data is normalized as a yardstick, as something that you talk about openly in your weekly, daily stand-ups in teams.
Yeah, sharing the data to be open, that's clear. Then the point is how to have a real culture on data.
Yes.
So, it needs to come from the top to the bottom of the company, and then it's a discipline. Either you can make data available. Everybody has access to a lot of data, but you need to really create a focus on it, to create like a, weekly review meeting, to really sit with all the key people that are the shareholder of this specific property or cluster, country, or whatever, to review exactly what is going on. But it needs to be, you need a discipline, because easily somebody's on vacation, somebody's, there is always something. So it needs to be monitored, and you need to keep, trace of it, minutes, to just have a discussion, to have a meeting, to have discussion, not to have anything written at the end. It's like, what did you need to have this meeting?
So true, so true.
So as part of data, you suggest being, making these decisions, that having a routine is key, is fundamental to making the best use of the data, right? So reviewing, putting a routine with the team that every morning on a weekly basis they revise this data. Is that what you do with your teams?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's in our case we do have some mandatory have meeting to have commercial review, to have or cost review, or also you mentioned the guest experience. It's all these kind of key metrics that are basically we define them as really the driver for company. We need to review it, and there is a mandatory happening meeting every week to review that. Yeah.
So looking at the old days of the old mentality, where the objective was the hotel full, no matter what. So how data has maybe changed that strategy, to perhaps with 80% of the hotel, we're making more revenue and we're actually not using the hotel as much, so therefore making more money. Is that something that you're implementing? And do you think maybe at some time is necessary to go back to that mentality, maybe in certain situations of stress or of distress?
Well, I was a revenue manager like 10 years ago, so things have changed for the better, definitely. But I would say that it's about getting the right guest at the right price. So casino hotels today, they typically want to fill their hotel at kind of a good price, but really the point is occupancy. So then the incremental spend is in the casinos and in the restaurants and in the outlets there. So I think things have changed, but again, every hotel is unique and every revenue strategy is complex. So I think that still remains, right? And that it's situational.
Yeah, well, every type of hotel, resort, casino, hotel, and so on, there is it's a bit different. We approach them in a different way. Also, the type of, are we owning the hotel? Are we managing a franchise? Is it a managed contract? It will trigger a bit of difference in terms of KPI, because at the end we need to go to profitability. This is the bottom line. But when you speak about the old days, for me, the old days is more a translation of people seeing. So the world was not based on data; it was based on opinion. The GM had an opinion, so it was a way. Today we can. It's easy to say, okay, look, everybody has an opinion. I have an opinion, but my opinion comes second after the data. Whatever I think, it can help me to go a bit faster on conclusion on data, but the data will always be first.
It's an amazing session. We're running out of time, but just one question or one sentence for each of you. So from Siteminder, what is your tip to all the hoteliers and all the technology companies that are here about data and how to drive revenue decisions?
I would say keep it simple. Don't fall into analysis paralysis where you're swimming in data and looking at the wrong data source to do a decision that's not so impactful. So keep it simple, keep it limited, and keep yourself in control.
Same question for you.
For me, the Fatal Hotel Group, which is basically the company I work for, is a very fast-growing company. So basically, the concept of scalability of the data and the aggregation of the data to be able to, if you take tomorrow 15 hotels, you need to bring it to your current system and to keep up with that, because so you need to have a system that is scalable.
Absolutely. So scalability and simple. I'll take those two ones. Thank you.